What do you know about them rare grooves? Benny Olsen always dancing. If you don't know now, you know. Forget about it. Welcome back to Foxy Games UK. I'm Fox, your source of regular, reliable gaming news and rumour. It is Thursday, November 15, and have we got news for you? Starting with Sony's incoming next-generation console, the PlayStation 5. Rumours abound. The system's trademark controller, the DualShock 5, is said to include a quality-of-life feature and interactive touch screen, no less. Imagine the possibilities, like a game's map being on display at all times, negating exiting the action, ultimately momentarily taking the gamer out of the experience, a beneficial feature first introduced to console gamers by way of Nintendo's ill-fated short-lived Wii U. Indeed, our friends over at DualShockers.com have reported. Here's the full story. So, Sony Interactive Entertainment America filed an updated patent in October for what seems to be a new controller with a touch screen built in. The patent was filed to the United States Patent Office and actually includes a lot of information regarding the piece of technology that Sony wants to get a hold of. The patent filing for this gaming controller is very technical, but as discovered by u/Alpha Fox Warfare, it does pinpoint some sort of touch screen addition. Here's a quote. A controller for interfacing wirelessly with a computing device is provided, including the following: a housing defined by a main body, a first extension extending from a first end of main body, and a second extension extending from a second end of the main body. The first extension and the second extension for holding by a first hand and second hand of a user, respectively. A touchscreen defined along the top surface of the main body between the first extension and the second extension. What a mouthful. A first set of buttons disposed on the top surface of the main body proximate to the first extension and on a first side of the touch screen, and a second set of buttons disposed on the top surface of the main body proximate to the second extension and on a second side of the touch screen. Couldn't they have communicated that in a simpler manner? Probably for legal reasons, as patents go. But if you didn't understand any of that, it basically pinpoints to some of the most basic features of the controller and highlights that one specific touch screen component. This gives us a rare glance into the thoughts of Sony and PlayStation's research and development department. The patent describes the controller just like a DualShock 4, so it could wind up being a version of that controller with a touchscreen. While it's possible that this patent is just an updated filing for the existing PlayStation controller, the added feature is definitely something we should take note of. Whether or not we end up seeing this implemented into a new version of DualShock 4, or maybe, just maybe, a hint at the PlayStation 5's controller, time will have to tell. We recommend taking this with a grain of salt due to the previous Sony patent, which turned out just to be an unsubstantiated update to the existing PlayStation DualShock controller. However, I have already intimated this well over a year ago, actually, when I first put out some PlayStation 5 information from my own sources that Sony was working on a DualShock 5 that's totally different from DualShock 4, although I didn't elaborate on the features at the time. This is certainly interesting. So there are some pros and cons to such a device. Now, the pros, of course, an active map and other options available simultaneously to the gameplay, keeping the user's experience in-game at all times, with time and date, scheduling of events at a touch, the sending and reading of messages, that sort of thing, you know. But there are some cons, of course. Battery life is likely to suffer, eating into some game time. This feature could make purchasing DualShocks a lot pricier than we're used to, and notwithstanding, it could unnecessarily increase the price of the PlayStation 5 console, and it will need to be included in with all boxed retail launch units if developers are to treat it as a standard controller as opposed to just another accessory not every user is likely to own. Much like DualShockers, Foxy Games UK will keep you updated if anything changes regarding this story, or Sony goes out and makes an official announcement regarding this actual controller. Now, this was originally sourced via Reddit. MP first, though, do share your thoughts on this interesting controller and what functionality would you like to see included. Let us know in the comments. Okay, in other news, the annual Game Awards is approaching, and fast, a ceremony that aims to highlight, spotlight and celebrate the achievements of known and lesser known game studios and publishers' work within the games industry. In a PlayStation Galaxy opinion piece that caught my eye and really got me thinking, damn, PlayStation exclusives are dominating the Game Awards 2018 nominations, for sure. And as we approach the end of the year, various Game Awards ceremonies will happen around the world, and the most awaited games industry that night, the Game Awards, is steadily approaching. Recently, the Game Awards host, Jeff Keighley, announced the nominees of each category for this year's Game Awards. While it's not entirely a huge surprise, Sony Interactive Entertainment has been through the roof with its first-party game throughout 2018. Earlier this year, Santa Monica Studios' soft reboot of their hack-and-slash Greek mythology franchise God of War launched. Critics praised it for its narrative approach and game design decisions. They moved on from the classic mechanics to a more closer action-packed open-world adventure. This big change to the franchise brings the first-party studio to new heights, thus opening tons of possibilities to God of War's lore. It was then followed by Quantic Dream's newest IP that tackles on discrimination and slavery among androids. David Cage's reputation did make people and the game's media doubt Detroit Become Human's success after Beyond Two Souls' mixed critical reception, but the game was well received by critics and fans alike. Fortunately, while not perfect, Detroit Become Human impressed a lot of people with its significant improvement from Beyond, a story that people can connect with, especially the game's characters like Connor, Marcus and Kara, due to their great voice acting. Now comes our friendly neighborhood web-slinging hero that just got a new studio to develop his game, Insomniac Games. You may know them for their Ratchet & Clank games and its critically successful Resistance franchise. A wise decision to use Insomniac, as they were chosen to bring Marvel's Spider-Man back into the scene, as they did tremendously amazing. Insomniac's Marvel Spider-Man was the Spider-Man game we were all waiting years for. Now, the studio fixed a lot of the issues its predecessors had, one of which was really web-swinging mechanics throughout New York. They improved the physics and Spidey's abilities, but it's not just that. The game is amazing with a fantastic soundtrack composed by John Pacino, perfectly captures the game's narrative directions and its intense moments. These great PlayStation exclusives were also supported by its comrades in the virtual reality, ready to immerse people with decent gameplay and fun moments. You get to control a cute little robot hero really in Astrobot Rescue Mission. Remember those playroom moments, duck and cover in intense gunplay and Fireball Zero Hour, an experience and a way to play Tetris in Tetris Effect. Throughout the year, the Game Awards 2018 shows how well Sony's games are performing. God of War and Marvel Spider-Man got nominated for Best Game Direction, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, Best Score Music, Best Audio Design, Best Performance, Best Action and Adventure Game, and Best Category Game of the Year. Detroit Become Human is also nominated for Best Game Direction, Best Performance and Best Narrative. Then Astrobot Rescue Mission, Fireball Zero Hour and Tetris Effect are competing for Best VR AR Game. Sony has a total of 9 categories in the Game Awards, and without really a huge Nintendo game like Zelda Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey to contend with this year, they should clean up. Now, I'd say they pretty much have bagged the awards this year, and to those who fail to recognize or accept, exclusives are more important than ever, especially with the proliferation of game subscription services and streaming, much like rap's living legend Ice-T, whose tweet hit the nail on the head. I quote, "Phones are smarter, humans are dumber. The situation in 2018. In any event, the Game Awards 2018 ceremony will be live streamed on December 6th at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or at the very unsociable hour of 1:30 a.m. here in the UK. And finally, Final Fantasy XV developer Luminous Productions are reportedly working on a new AAA title exclusively for PlayStation 5. Indeed, a Luminous employee's LinkedIn page suggests the studio is already gearing up for Sony's next generation Behemoth. Reported via Gaming Bolt, here's a full story. So when Square Enix established the Final Fantasy XV development team as a separate studio in and of itself called Luminous Productions, they had a very clear plan in mind to use the studio to develop high-end AAA titles going forward. Recently, they cancelled 3 of the 4 upcoming Final Fantasy XV DLCs, with the game's director Hajime Tabata also leaving, so it really became pretty apparent that their focus was shifting to work on something new and big. As per the LinkedIn profile of Tomohiro Tokoro, the lead 3D character model artist at Luminous Productions, that game is going to have really a new AAA title for the PS5. At that studio, Tokoro lists work on the next generation title under his work experience, as well as a new mobile title in development for the Chinese market. He seems to have removed both these titles from his profile, but Gear Nuke captured a screenshot of the same before that, which you can view now. Now you've had the butchers, the LinkedIn profile really of other Luminous production employees also hint at the same. Game designer Masafumi Nokita's page mentions that he's working on an unannounced project, and sure, that could be either of the two new projects mentioned above, but scenario writer Simon Weisgerber's page mentions that he's creating this scenario for Luminous Productions' first title alongside renowned Hollywood screenwriter. That hardly sounds like a mobile game to me. Now the PS5 and the next Xbox are likely going to launch within the next 2 years, or at least 18 months, so it's not a stretch to assume that development kits have been sent out to studios who started work on really new next-gen games already. Either way, whether that is or whatever that is, Luminous Productions really are working on something top secret. It's unlikely that it will be announced anytime soon, but stay tuned to Gaming Bolt and Foxy Games for more updates. Interesting, though I hope it's not another big for nothing open world title. I don't know about you, but I am somewhat fatigued playing open world games lately. There's just too much fetch quest padding, and it's mostly feeling pointless to me and disconnected from the main quest. Hopefully the ridiculously expensive next gen dev costs of both PlayStation 5 and Xbox Next, whatever it's called, will yield more tightly focused and somewhat semi-linear, character-driven, narrative-rich game experiences. #playgames, not corporations. Now, as usual, a link to all content covered today can be found in the video's description where and when applicable. And while you're there, share your thoughts and opinions on today's news, because that unfortunately brings us to the end of another video. Yes, I know, I don't want to go, but let's continue the discussion in the video comments now. Now, I apologize for the somewhat odd acoustics with the audio today. I am recording near an airport where there's a high level of traffic, noise pollution, what have you, from a very large office which isn't best suited to microphones, and I'm slap bang sat in the middle of this office. So I did my best. I didn't want to not upload a video today, and after speaking with Mads Gamer in a DM earlier, he says he works from home, so he's lucky. So I felt a bit jealous, so I thought, hey, there's a PS4 in the office, let me do something. So for more regular PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch and next gen news updates, subscribe to Foxy Games UK. Remember to hit the notification bell so you never miss content. Thumbs up if you liked it here, and help us reach more like-minded gamers simply by sharing this video. And if you really like what I do, please consider supporting Foxy Games UK via Patreon, and or grab yourself a Foxy Games UK branded t-shirt or hoodie, available in white, grey and military green. You'll find both Patreon and Foxy Games UK branded clothing links in this video's description. Really appreciate the support. And that concludes our time together today. I can hear an aeroplane going across now. It was great hanging out, but until the next video, always remember, play games, not corporations. I'm out of here.